So, a question that I'm asked often is, what exactly does a yoga therapy session look like? And I'm going to preface this by saying if there were 10 yoga therapists here and we were all asked the same question, we most likely would give 10 different answers. So there's no standard of what it looks like, and it can look really different. So I'm just going to share a little bit about what it can look like in working with me. So first, I think it's important to acknowledge the word yoga and what we're talking about when we're talking about yoga. So when I think of yoga, I'm thinking the Sanskrit word translates to yoke, union, integration. So it's bringing together all the different parts of ourselves that maybe feel disconnected or hard to reach or that they've been hurt in some way. And so it's that kind of coming home to ourselves. And that can look, we can do that in a variety of different ways. So my every session has some movement, some talking, and some meditation. And what that looks like can be all over the place. So just to give you a couple of examples of what a session could look like is if somebody came in and they were feeling a lot of energy and maybe had some anxiety, we might start by doing movement to allow that energy to move through the system. So we might do 4 sun salutations and some warrior poses. Then we might sit down and say, okay, let me hear what's happening now. And then we might do some meditation that can be settling to the nervous system. So that could be one particular way a session looks like. Another session could be somebody comes in and they just came off of work and they're feeling kind of scattered. And so we sit and we just do a mindfulness check. What are you noticing that's happening in your body right now? What's happening in your breath and your energy? What's happening in the mind? What's happening mentally? What are the thoughts that are happening? What's happening emotionally? And then we take that information that's present and then we might use that in a physical practice. And so let's say this person was feeling grief over the loss of a relationship. So then we might go into that, and rather than when I say yoga poses, it's more of an embodied expression of what that is like. And so sometimes I use more like standard or typical yoga poses, and a lot of times I'll inquire into that person's experience of if that grief or that sadness about that relationship, if that had a shape in your body, what would it look like? And maybe they go forward, or maybe they kind of round in towards their heart. There's so many different ways that grief and sadness can manifest, but that might be one manifestation. So then if we allow that shape we go towards it, which is honoring the emotion, honoring the energy of that emotion, and we let it be there until it naturally wants to move. Okay, then it might move towards anger. So then their body might come into a different shape. So allowing the nervous system and the emotions to guide how the body is moving. And that can look like, that can be a dialogue that we're having between each other. So when I'm guiding them through the meditation at the beginning, then we have a conversation. Okay, what's happening? And then from there, we use that information to explore in a somatic way, in an embodied way, how those things are living in the body and how we can use the body to help express them. And then I'll give one more example. So if somebody's coming to me and it's hard to feel the body. It can feel like there's dissociation from the body, which is a safety mechanism. It can feel kind of scary to go into the body, or, and this is something that happens often, I ask the question, where do you feel that? Where does that fear live in your body? And the answer is, I don't know. Because sometimes that's the honest truth, is many of us have never been asked these questions before. I certainly was until I started doing this work. So to be asked that question can come up with confusion or uncertainty. And so we might start just by orienting to the body. And so we might start with a body scan. And then we might start with just some gentle movement of moving my hand up and down and noticing What does that feel like? Does it feel pleasant? Does it feel unpleasant? Does it feel kind of neutral? And then from there, once we start to kind of incorporate or integrate back into the body in a way that feels tolerable and safe, then we can start to explore in deeper ways other emotions that might arise, either emotions that feel challenging to feel or emotions that we really want to feel. So those are 3 examples of infinite possibilities of what a yoga therapy session can look like. And if you're curious about yoga therapy, sign up for a free 20-minute consultation. I love to hear what's drawing you to yoga therapy. And then from there, I can tell you a little bit about what our work could look like with your specific things that you're navigating right now in life. So in the description, I'll leave my website, and you can go right there and sign up in my calendar for a free 20-minute consultation, and we can talk about what yoga therapy might look like for you. Thanks for watching.